I want to thank all of you who took the time to Facebook and email your questions into us yesterday, and I'm going to go through as many of those questions as I can with my response. Those of you who don't hear the answer to your question, we're going to email or Facebook back to you as well. Greg asked a question. He said, what has been your biggest struggle in the past term as mayor, and how do you plan to improve the situation with the new council moving forward? Great question, Greg. I think we spent a lot of time on councillor responsibilities and accountability and transparency. And the difficulties arose through the term on expenses and time spent. I always wanted the councillors, including myself, to be as communicative and as transparent with our residents as we could. So what we did was we did make some progress. Council agreed to put their expenses online. I think that was key. We also redefined that famous code that you hear about, 1801, the account code, so that we limited what expenses you could put on that. And so what I want to do, I want to move forward from that. So in orientation, in our strategic workshops, we're going to talk a lot more about accountability to the public with the councillors. And what I want to do is move forward and have our schedules, our time schedules. I want the public to know what events councillors are going to, when, how they spend their time. So I'm looking forward to some great improvement in that area. I see a question from Isaac here, and it says, what are you most proud of in your last 4 years as mayor of Strathcona County? Well, that one comes to mind easily, Isaac, because since I've been a councillor, I've been most excited about engaging the public. I really do feel that the power of the grassroots is what we as elected officials should focus on. We should be enabling neighbor power. I saw it happen in Gilmore Park. I saw it happen in Ardrossan. We have really, with a little help from our councillors, we can get out there and enable our community halls, enable our community groups, our nonprofits, our service clubs. There is no end to the things we can do in this community by working together. We have a question from Lois about the development of Bremner. She said, Mayor Carr, you've said if developers think they're going to develop Bremner, they're going to have to come up with the money. Absolutely true, Lois. We did say that. And then you talked about the development process and the front ending. Let me tell you what we're going to do with Bremner and any other growth area that we have. We have always, in the 100 years that we have successfully grown our hamlet of Sherwood Park here in Strathcona County, we have had a formula. The government, the province pays, the municipality pays, and the developer pays. It's all about regional infrastructure, off-site and on-site development. And so we're going to apply that same successful formula to Bremner. There has been front-ending in this community before to grow our hamlets, to grow new areas. And the front ending, the important part of that is that while the municipality will front end, we will collect not only the capital, the base capital, we'll collect the interest back for our residents. From John and Chris, we've got some questions on traffic flow. You know, through this election, with all the door knocking myself and the other councillors and the candidates have done, we have heard number one issue is traffic in Sherwood Park especially. We have to do much more on this. So what I plan to do is go back to our administration and say that we want a comparison done, we want a report very quickly done, and let's do a comparison with, say, 3 other municipalities. Let's find out where we are, where we stand with those other municipalities. Let's find out what better techniques and software programs they're using, especially for this light synchronization issue. And let's get this ready for the budget of 2019. What I want the public to keep in mind is that this is a balance between safety in our residential areas, in our neighborhoods, safety for our kids, and the efficient, quick flow of traffic through our community and into our urban built-up areas. We had a great diversity in questions that were asked of us yesterday, and I like this one from John, a young entrepreneur. He says, I'm currently working towards opening a brewery in Sherwood Park. Is there a way to make that first year easier to survive, to make the regulations easier to follow, so that as a local producer of quality, locally sourced beer, I can even make it? You know, John, my background is economic development. We have been working with our industry partners, the energy industry. Given the local conditions, the provincial lack of incentives, our energy industry is not able to create the jobs they used to. And I am very concerned about where the next jobs are coming from. And John, you're the one that's going to create those jobs for us. You're darn right. We want to make it easier for you to make your business successful. What I plan to do, it's in my platform, is create the Mayor's Task Force on innovation and diversification in small and medium-sized businesses. It's people like you that I want to join us to find the solutions. Get rid of the barriers, and you're talking about some of them here in your question. We need to get rid of those barriers. We need to incentivize people like yourselves to take that step from the basement into the storefront. Is it creating incubators? Is it leveraging existing incubators like our marvelous Spark Center? We don't know yet. It's people like you with vision who are going to give us those answers. I want to get this off the ground immediately. Within 8 months, I want the answers, and I want to get the solutions moving. Thanks for that question, John. I see young Jamison, and Jamison is 7 years old, and he has a question. He says, do you know how to do a backflip? Well, Jamison, I have done it in water, and Monday night when the election results come in, I'm thinking you might see a backflip then. Tyson has a great question here. He says, what plans are there to update hockey rinks in the county? Some good comments here. The arena and the shell have not been updated in over 20 years. Significant updates. And for a community ranked so highly in Canada, we want to welcome our opposing teams with pride, with bigger buildings, more facilities. I totally agree with you, and we have already directed our administration to come up with the next phase in our Parks and Recreation Plan. Within 8 months, you're going to see a new plan after extensive public engagement. We're going to talk with the public about those ice rinks. We're going to talk about the soccer fields, and that was another question that came in here as well. And so we're going to find out what the priorities are. I also heard a lot when I was out and about baseball fields. We're going to be looking at all those areas and more to see where the next major facilities are going to go in both urban and rural Strathcona County. Charlene says, what is your advice for getting young women into politics? Well, Charlene, I came into politics almost by mistake after a varied career, certainly not intentionally. I had a varied career in business, working with volunteers as well, managing different types of businesses like electronic gaming racetrack. And I was also the manager of Farm Fair International with Northlands Park, and I had a career in economic development. You're going to have, as young women and young men, plenty of career opportunities. Before you go into politics, ask yourself why. I hope the answer is to serve community, to make a difference, and to look back and know that when you left politics, you left a better place, a safer, more connected community. Gary also asked a question. I would like to know what your thoughts are around small grow-ups applying for development permits in rural residential areas. Gary, that's actually a very complex question, but I'm going to give you a sense of where we are right now as Strathcona County. We have a land use bylaw. It treats marijuana as intensive horticulture. I believe, given the federal government's new regulations coming up, they've opened it wide from medicinal to recreational. It does change the playing field no matter where that grow up goes. So what council has already done is changed permitted to discretionary for all intensive horticulture land use permitting. And so this allows our land use officers to put in more conditions and more control. We have also directed administration to do some communication and some public engagement for the next 6 to 8 months. We want to see a comparison to what other municipalities are doing. We want the solutions to come in from municipalities in the states who have already gone through this. And personally, right now, and we'll see more of the information as it comes in, but personally, I'd like to see marijuana taken out of intensive horticulture and put into its own category and call it controlled or regulated crops. Then we can deal with it and put on appropriate controls for that crop. This entire discussion about marijuana is a very large one, and it involves not just land use planning, but it does involve retail and distribution of the product. So a long way to go on this one, Gary. Buddy has sent in a question. What new change will you try to invoke this term that you believe will improve and benefit the residents of Strathcona County? This is a twofold response, if you don't mind, Buddy. I have always focused on communication, two-way communication with our residents. We want to keep that small town feeling throughout our urban, rural areas. And we have been focusing on getting out, talking to our community halls, talking to community league groups, and working with them to create new solutions for our community that make us more safe and more connected. What I see now is bringing our counselors in, getting them more involved in regular town hall meetings. They could be electronic like this. They could be on the spot out there in the community, but more communication is what we need, because as I went out to the forums, there were too many questions out there of things that our counselors should have been pushing out on basic information. So we want to improve that, and I know we can. Also, to me, the most important thing in this economic downturn is creating more jobs. And I talked to that earlier in creating the Mayor's Task Force on Business Innovation and Diversification. Thanks for that one, Buddy. Maya has asked a question, or I beg your pardon, it's Maya. She said, how can we fix internet in the rural area? And she mentions Range Road 231, Township 512. she has a big issue with internet. We are still hearing that out there, but I will tell you, this is the first council that's put its mind to internet in our rural areas. Actually, strangely enough, there's some urban areas that need some help too. But we have increased access of over 700 households to higher speed internet. I'm excited about that. And we do, by the way, Maya, have a program that's ongoing. So if you go on to the Strathcona County website, you're going to find an area in there that says, where are you? What's your difficulty? Because that program of connecting more households to higher access, higher speed internet is still ongoing. And if you can't find it on the internet, give your counselor a call. Thanks, Maya. We've also, by the way, got Wi-Fi and high-speed access into, I think, all of our community halls now, and that happened this term. I see Taylor has a good question on breed-specific legislation on dogs. He says, are you for it? Are you against it? Explain your stance. And he's very concerned about the bully breeds, the power breeds, and I know most of you are familiar with that too. Well, I'm happy to tell Taylor that if he looks on our website under the most recent dog bylaw, dog control bylaw, he's going to see a totally new bylaw, and that is based on owner responsibility. Taylor, I've been involved with horses and dogs throughout my life, and whenever I've run into a problem horse or a problem dog, I've found the answer. It's in the training, it's in the owner, and this new dog bylaw clearly sets the level of responsibility back on the owner. It's not the breed of dogs. Thank you for that, Taylor. Our next question comes from Becki. What have you done to deal with the ongoing busing concerns? And if elected, what do you plan to do to address those concerns? Becki, I'm happy to represent Strathcona County as the largest operator of commuter transit in the region. And that's our commuter service, taking our students and our business people into Edmonton and back out. However, we have not fixed some of our local busing concerns in many years. I want to address the accessibility of buses, both rural and urban. In my platform, you'll see my desire to put a bus route from Sherwood Park to Ardrossan, up to Josephburg, and down through Fort Saskatchewan and back to Sherwood Park. We also need to have a park and ride out in our rural area. And I want to look more at our seniors, our non-drivers, accessibility issues on weekends. We're not doing a good enough job in that area. You'll see some dramatic changes in the next 4 years. Next, we've got Mike, who said, why did you refuse to shake Rod Frank's hand at the end of the debate on Tuesday night? I did refuse to shake that candidate's hand at the end of the debate on Tuesday night. And as I explained to Mr. Frank at the time, I don't believe in the kind of politics, the kind of campaigning that's been going on this time. I don't believe in the constant thread of misinformation and allegations, false allegations, that have been levied at both my campaign and me personally. I believe in honesty, and I believe in getting the facts out correctly. And so that is why I will not put up a false front with any candidate that is giving out that kind of false information. Alyssa comes up with a question here and asks, are there any plans for trail connectivity to Edmonton via Baseline? She doesn't want her to ride her bike on Baseline Road, but she'd love to bike to work downtown one day. A lot of our residents have asked that question in the last 4 years. And Alyssa, I'm really pleased to tell you about the Petroleum Way widening and the multi-use trail, so we won't have to ride our bikes on Baseline anymore. That's going to run from 17th Street to Streambank Avenue. And it's going to connect all those existing trails in Sherwood Park to the River Valley Trail system as well. So you can be on that trail by spring of 2018. Our final question today is from Gracie, age 6. And she says, why do you love horses so much? What is your horse's name? And do you also love bunnies? Well, Gracie, thank you very much. I have worked with horses all my life, quarter horses, 3-day event horses, and my last horse was Missouri Foxtrotter, and his name is Rex. And I love him very much, and we've done trail riding in the mountains, and we've also rounded up cattle together. I do like bunnies very much. Actually, I used to raise rabbits when I was younger, and they're great pets. Thank you very much, Gracie. Thank you, everyone, for sending in your questions today. Your questions show your engagement and your commitment to building a better connected community here in Strathcona County. And if you didn't hear the answer to your question, I will be emailing those answers out later today. You can learn more about my vision by going to the website carformayor.ca. Thank you very much.